really gets me high. Bam-a-lam, you know.
Back when a raised eyebrow could pull the plug, some rock singles managed one big hit before the gatekeepers yanked them. These tracks were briefly everywhere, then vanished for being a little too loud, lewd, or blunt. And stick around, because we've got one extra entry at the end, a Cold War anthem that soared to number 2, before vanishing from airwaves when real missiles started flying.
Short people got no reason.
Number 1, One Toke Over the Line, Brewer and Shipley from 1970. The tune hatched in a Kansas City dressing room when Mike Brewer joked he was exactly one toke over the line after a shared Backstage joint. They carried the line to Wally Heider's studios in San Francisco that August, pacing the verse around a steady electric guitar shuffle, while Jerry Garcia, in town for a new writer's session, slipped a pedal steel cameo onto the bridge. Kama Sutra rushed a single on the 30th of December 1970. By April, it sat at number 10 on Billboard and drew a glowing shout-out from Lawrence Welk, who introduced it on his TV show as a modern spiritual.
Sitting downtown in a railway station, one toke over the line.
Less amused, the newly appointed FCC chairman, Dean Birch, who circulated a memo warning that any station promoting illegal drug use could jeopardize its license. Several AM outlets in the Midwest yanked the record overnight, and Milwaukee's WOKY asked the duo to re-record the chorus without the word toke. Brewer laughed, said that would leave 4 seconds of dead air, and kept touring. The song stayed off some playlists for years, yet every campus quad learned the chorus by heart. And Garcia's sly steel line kept fans guessing how many takes it took him to play Stone Cold Sober.
Sitting downtown in a railway station, one toke over the line.
Number 2, Timothy, The Buoys, 1971.
Timothy, God, why don't I know?
Label execs told Pennsylvania bar band The Buoys they needed something outrageous to cut through radio clutter. So songwriter Rupert Holmes served up a mining disaster ballad when 3 trapped men come out too short of a picnic. Recorded at Scepter Studios, New York in October 1970, the track hides its punchline behind cheery flute and a marching snare. Producer Terry Cashman even added hand claps, figuring DJs might miss the wordplay until listeners started phoning. Scepter released the single on the 15th of January 1971 with no hint of cannibalism on the sleeve.
Timothy, God, what did we do?
It hit number 71, then stalled as programmers realized Timothy, where on earth did you go wasn't rhetorical. Stations in Boston and Dallas pulled the vinyl. Pittsburgh's KQV kept it, crowing that the city had steelworkers who could handle a dark joke. National curiosity spiked, and by the 8th of May, the record peaked at number 17 on the Hot 100 before Scepter issued a press release claiming Timothy was actually a mule. Too late, the FCC's mailbox was already fat with complaints. Holmes later admitted the mule story was a smokescreen, the band never scored another pop hit, and miners everywhere gained a sing-along they could only half laugh at during safety drills. Number 3, Smokin' in the Boys' Room, Brownsville Station, 1973.
Smoking in the boys' room. Smoking in the boys' room.
The idea struck singer Cub Koda after he caught 2 juniors lighting up between period bells at Ann Arbor's Pioneer High. A week later, the band was at Media Sound in Manhattan, producer Doug Morris rolling tape, while Koda hammered 3 chords on a battered Les Paul Jr. and shouted a mock morning announcement. Everybody knows that smoking ain't allowed in school. Drummer Henry Weck set up in the tile-floored echo chamber so every snare snap sounded like lockers slamming shut. Big Tree shipped the single on the 18th of June 1973. WLS Chicago playlisted it first, and by Christmas, the record sat at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100, with nearly 1 million US 45s pressed.
Smoking in the stalls, no,
The trouble started fast. Principals from Cleveland to Tallahassee wrote stations complaining the song glamorized truancy. The Los Angeles Unified School District sent a memo urging local AM outlets to keep the track off daytime rotations that might reach school buses. KJR Seattle aired it anyway, twice an hour during finals week, while KMPC complied and trimmed the spin count to 0 between 7 a.m. and 4 p.m. Brownsville Station rode the fuss straight onto American Bandstand, where Dick Clark asked if they meant to cause mischief. Coda grinned, pulled a pack of Camels from his sleeve, and said, "Only a little." High school bands spread further, yet every gym dance DJ packed a copy, cueing the break so the crowd could chant, "Smokin' in the boys' room," between whistle blows from hall monitors standing guard at the exit doors.
So don't you feel me? Up with your rules. Everybody knows that smoking.
Number 4, 110 Soldier, The Legend of Billy Jack. Coven, 1973 reissue.
The people of the valley sent a message up the hill.
Coven had just dusted off the controversy from their 1969 Witchcraft Destroys Minds and Reaps Souls LP, when producer Dennis Lambert asked them to cover a pacifist folk tune for the indie film Billy Jack. Recording happened at Larrabee Sound, Hollywood in July 1971. Singer Jinx Dawson nudged the key higher than the original cast version, belting the chorus while studio violinist doubled her melody for a hill country feel. Lambert mixed in rolling field sound effects that MGM executives later trimmed, worried the opening cannon boom would rattle theater speakers. The single first charted in late 1971, peaking at number 26, but MGM repressed it in summer 1973 to ride the film's surprise box office revival.
Children to a story that was written long ago.
That's when some southern stations balked. A few program directors called the lyric "Peace on Earth" was all it said, a not-so-subtle jab at the Vietnam drawdown. Others still linked Coven to earlier occult rumors and didn't want witch rock on family playlists. WERC Birmingham and WRBC Jackson pulled the song entirely after listeners complained it was anti-war propaganda. Meanwhile, Armed Forces Radio skipped it during news blocks, though soldiers in Germany could still catch the track beamed from Radio Luxembourg after midnight. The more it vanished from daytime air, the more it sold in head shops and college co-ops. By the end of 1973, the re-release had moved another 300,000 U.S. copies, and Dawson's soaring "Go ahead and hate your neighbor" line became a staple at peace rallies, often blasted from battery amps the minute police loudhailers ordered crowds to disperse.
Hate your neighbor, go ahead and cheat a friend.
Number 5, Black Betty, Ram Jam, 1977.
Oh, Black Betty, bam-a-lam, whoa, Black Betty, bam-a-lam, she really gets me high, bam-a-lam, you know.
Brooklyn guitarist Bill Bartlett first whipped up his turbocharge of Leadbelly's 1939 work song while fronting Starstruck, cutting a garage demo in Ohio that sold out at local shops. Epic signed his new outfit, Ram Jam, retracked the tune at CBS Studios on West 52nd in early '77, and told engineer Bob Irwin to leave the amps in the red. Bartlett's Mosrite threw a dimed Marshall, plus clattering hand claps to keep the chain gang feel. Epic shipped promo 45s on the 24th of May. WNEW-FM cued it right after Skinnerd and phone lines lit. 2 weeks later, the NAACP and Congress of Racial Equality issued statements calling the lyric a slur and urging a boycott. KCBS-FM Los Angeles and WWRL New York pulled the single for review. Epic rushed out a memo insisting the words were traditional folk imagery and pledged a donation to a Harlem youth program. Even with several big city stations blacking it out, the record climbed to number 18 on Billboard by the 17th of September and moved 700,000 U.S. copies before Christmas. Ram Jam never cracked the top 40 again, yet anytime a sports arena DJ drops the opening, "Whoa, Black Betty, Bam-a-lam," the same argument sparks online threads, proving a 3-chord stomp can still punch old cultural bruises decades after the needles cooled.
Betty, bam-a-lam, whoa, Black Betty, bam-a-lam.
Number 6, Short People, Randy Newman, 1977.
Short people got no reason.
Randy Newman laid the track at Warner Brothers Studio B, North Hollywood in July 1977, tapping session ace Jim Keltner for a parade ground drum bounce and overdubbing tack piano riffs until they twinkled like a carnival calliope gone slightly sour. The lyric, sung in Newman's laconic drawl, stacks absurd complaints. Short people got no reason to live, only to flip the joke in the bridge and call out bigotry itself. Reprise issued the single on the 5th of November, and by New Year's Eve it was climbing the Hot 100 on sheer novelty pull.
They walk around telling great big lies. They got little...
Not everyone laughed. Maryland delegate Isaiah Dixon drafted a bill to ban the song from state radio. A Florida legislator proposed a similar measure, calling it heightest hate speech. Both efforts fizzled, but a dozen AM stations, including Chicago's WGN, trimmed airplay to late night. Newman, asked on The Tonight Show whether he'd rewrite the chorus, shrugged. If they don't get the satire, making it longer won't help. The fuss only fed sales. Short People peaked at number 2 on the 21st of January, 1978, holding off the Bee Gees for 3 weeks and became Newman's lone top 40 hit. Today, the single shows up in HR slide decks about unconscious bias. Proof a piano rag meant as a gag can still sting hard enough to spark proposed legislation. Number 7, Turning Japanese, The Vapors, 1980.
I got your picture, I'd like $1 million of you over myself.
Studio chatter says the hook began as a warm-up riff John Wirtz played while producer Vic Coppersmith Heaven was still patching the desk at London's townhouse. David Fenton scribbled verses about a heartbroken kid holed up with nothing but snapshots of his ex, then topped it with a chorus of rapid-fire Turning Japanese that sounded odd enough to stick after one spin. United Artists pressed the single for the UK on the 16th of January, 1980. BBC Radio 1 slotted it straight into daytime, and within 6 weeks it sat at number 3.
I'm turning Japanese, I think I'm turning Japanese, I really think so.
Across the Atlantic, Capitol mailed promo 45s stamped New Wave Pop, add immediately. But by the time it cracked the Hot 100, a Boston newspaper had floated a rumor that the phrase was slang for a certain self-help activity. Top 40 program directors panicked. Several, including CKLW Detroit and WPGC Washington, parked the record after 7 p.m. only. The supposed innuendo was never confirmed. Fenton still rolls his eyes at the tale. Yet the fuss kept the phone lines humming and pushed U.S. sales past 500,000 by midsummer. Japan, ironically, shrugged. Toshiba EMI issued the single in May, and it peaked at a modest number 37. Number 8, Cars, Gary Newman, 1980.
In my car, I feel safest of all. I can lock all my doors. Yes, dear.
Gary Newman recorded the track at London's Marcus Music Studios during an April 1979 heatwave, layering mini-moog bass and polymoog strings over a Lindrum loop that never once shifts tempo. Perfect for his lyric about retreating into an automobile to avoid people. Tubeway Army bandmate Paul Gardner added the staccato bass guitar, while Newman ran his own lead vocal through a barely tweaked Eventide flanger so it sounded half machine. In most of the world, the single arrived late in 1979, but South Africa's state broadcaster waited until March 1980, then pulled it after 2 weeks when student stations used the chorus under footage of township roadblocks.
I know I've started to think about leaving tonight, although nothing seems right in...
Officially, the complaint was anti-car sentiment, yet DJ suspected the real issue was the BBC News film spliced to the song on nightly broadcasts about riot police. Elsewhere, Cars sped past the controversy. Number 1 in the UK, number 9 US on the 27th of September 1980, and 1 million North American copies sold despite AM hosts grumbling the synths weren't proper rock. Newman's vision of isolating behind glass and steel reads eerier now, when touchscreens and autopilot modes turn every commute into a rolling cocoon. Exactly the future he hummed about, while the studio aircon failed and the traffic on Bayswater Road baked in summer fumes. Number 9, Too Drunk to F***, Dead Kennedys, 1981. San Francisco's Mabuhay Gardens had just closed for renovation, so the Kennedys decamped to Hyde Street Studios in February 1981, wrapping Jello Biafra's sneer around an East Bay surf punk riff, clocking barely 2 minutes 40 seconds. Guitarist East Bay Ray stuck a spring reverb tank on a Fender Twin, then asked engineer Oliver DeSicchio to leave the preamp redlined so the hangover hurt. Cherry Red shipped the 7-inch to UK shops on the 3rd of May with a blood red sleeve and no radio edit. It entered the chart at number 47 on the 9th of May, but the BBC Standards Board stepped in 2 days later. No airplay of the title, no mention on Top of the Pops. London retailer HMV bagged remaining copies in black plastic and moved them behind the counter. Buyers had to ask for it by name, which only fueled curiosity. Word of mouth pushed the single to number 36 by the end of the month, the first time a 4-letter title cracked the UK Top 40. U.S. college stations spun import copies after midnight. A few commercial PDs tried bleeping the hook, but Biafra's laugh after the line made the censor tone pointless. The Kennedys never returned to the pop charts, yet every time a festival crowd chants the chorus at 1 a.m., you can hear the BBC band accomplishing exactly the opposite of what it intended.
It makes it worse. Take out your fucking routine.
Number 10, I Eat Cannibals, Total Coelho, 1982.
I eat cannibals. I eat cannibals.
The idea came from a snack food jingle guitarist Barry Blue half remembered on the way to London's Red Bus Studios. Producer Ron Roker laid down a rubber band synth bass, then asked the 5 singers to trade jungle drum hand claps with a Linn LM1 drum machine set 1 tick fast. Magnet Records released the single on the 20th of August 1982. Within 3 weeks, it sat at number 8 on the UK chart, thanks to Top of the Pops footage of the band in faux leopard leotards tossing plastic bones into the audience. Across the Atlantic, Taboo CBS serviced promos stamped radio version, no cannibal lyric sheet.
Making me love you. We are what we eat.
Several top 40 PDs still balked, worried younger listeners might take the title literally. WTIC Hartford and WRKO Boston pulled the track after parent complaints, while Chicago's WLUP played it hourly just to tweak the censors. The record squeaked onto Billboard's Hot 100 at number 84 on the 18th of December, then vanished. Total Coelho's only U.S. chart visit. Magnet tried a follow-up, Dracula's Tango, that stalled at number 54. By then, church newsletters were already citing cannibals as proof pop radio had lost its morals. 40 years later, the single survives as karaoke gold. A goofy hook and a beat you can march to will outlive every memo begging stations to pretend it never existed. Bonus, 99 Luft Balloons. Nena from 1983. The score of this song popped into guitarist Carlo Cargas's head at a 1982 Rolling Stones concert in West Berlin. He watched red balloons drift skyward and imagined radar crews mistaking toys for missiles. Nena's band cut the track that October at Spliff Studio Berlin, anchoring it with Jorn Uwe Fahrenkrog Peterson's Prophet 5 synth burble and a tight 4 on the floor from drummer Rolf Brendel. Producer Reinhold Heil left Gabrielle Nena Kerner's vocal unpolished, even keeping the slight laugh she makes after the first Auf Ihrem Weg zum Horizont, the German-language single hit West German radio on the 24th of January, 1983, and climbed to number 1 in 3 weeks. Epic issued an English market 45 that summer. German A-side, Instrumental B. LA station KROQ spun the import and phones exploded. By the 24th of March 1984, the U.S. release, now with an English remake on Side A, sat at number 2 on Billboard's Hot 100. Then came the clampdowns. American Forces Radio faded the track during live Gulf War coverage in 1991. Worried troops might not appreciate an anti-war chorus while Scud sirens howled. Some stateside top 40 PDs also shelved it temporarily, calling the lyric bad timing during CNN's 24-hour missile footage. Even so, the single moved more than 1 million U.S. copies, giving Nena her sole American hit and proving a Cold War parable could still beat hair metal ballads on the dial. That's all we have for you today. Have a hometown tale of a song that vanished mid-chorus? Send it our way. There's always room for one more line crossed.